What's good, y'all? Welcome to my review for episode 19 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean. Almost done, guys. Almost done. We've got about 4 more episodes left of this batch of episodes. Yeah, bro, I'm fucking exhausted, man. But regardless of such, this episode was fucking amazing, man. Once again, the comedy was on point. And yeah, a lot of funny shit to talk about. Gotaro finally got some screen time in there, which is always a plus in my books. So yeah, man, let's just jump right in. So we start this episode off with Jotaro. Yes, finally Gotaro gets some goddamn screen time in part 6. And about goddamn that, well, kind of, you count this as screen time. Either way, we're at the Speedwagon Foundation and they're checking Jotaro's ratings. Everything looks good. You know, his EKG and whatever the fuck else they were looking up looks fine. But they still have, but because he doesn't have the memory, he's just been sort of just sitting there chilling. He's been able to memorize 30 words, but because he has no memory, he doesn't really have much of the will to live, and that's why his muscles start to deteriorate, and he has absolutely no reaction to his daughter, Jolene, because he has a picture of both Jolene as well as his wife right in front of him. The interesting thing about this I thought was interesting is that the picture of Jolene she used is like, yo, Jolene looks really fucking cute in this picture, bro. Like, what happened between when this photo happened and where and now where she kind of looked more like Jotaro compared to where she looked a little bit more cuter in this picture, because obviously this picture was probably from like a year or so ago before the events of Stone Ocean began. But yeah, I was kind of surprised, like, goddamn, Jolene actually looks really cute in this picture. What the hell happened? I mean, Jolene's still bad regardless, bro, but I gotta say she was definitely cuter in this picture. But whatever the case may be, man, one of the doctors ends up starting to approach Jotaro and like kind of like go near his and like kind of like almost like getting his hand gets like near his face. Star Platinum comes in there and like tries to attack him, but he ends up just hitting like the what was it, like the IV thing or whatever the hell that thing is, as the other doctor manages to get him out of the way before he can get hit by Jotaro. But we see but Jotaro gets cut up in the process. The doctor apologizes for not telling him about Star Platinum, but it's not like he's doing it for a memory. That's just more or less an instinctive thing from Star Platinum. They check his hand to see what it spells, and it spells Jolene, his dog. Before we cut over back to Jolene as FF is trying to heal up her wounds. Or you also get like a flashback back to I want to say like episode 11 or episode 12, one of the last episodes of the first batch of episodes when Jotaro was like kind of like almost at just about having his disc sealed, and he said that Jolene was always important to him and all that shit. So that's when Jolene notices what's on her hand is also what spells Jolene. I honestly thought because it said Jolene on his hand, I thought it was gonna say like Jotaro on Jolene's hand. I thought so that was no. It also says Jolene on her hand as well. FF trying to heal, but Jolene tells her not to, and she thinks that this is from her dad, and and through her body he is trying to contact her, which seems like that's what he's trying to do. Anyway, and then it like eventually just vanishes on its own. Before everyone's back on climbing up the stairs, and then you have Anastasia. He starts to create his master plan on to get Jolene to like him, to want to make sure Jolene knows that he protected her. This man's plan includes them going up the stairs. Well, they're already up the stairs, but he tells FF to make her trip on the stairs. Obviously, FF is just as confused as the rest of us and doesn't want to do it. Anastasia explains further that no, it's not what you think. I don't think she fully understands that I protected her, and he wants just to have Jolene back in his arms again. And FF says, "Oh, sexual harassment and assault? That's on you, buddy." But of course, he reminds her of the deal they have with that FF made with him to get her to help her, and so reluctantly she ends up tripping, and she reluctantly trips. Jolene calls her a fall, and right before she's about to land into Anastasia's arm, she uses her thread on the little guy that stole Dio's bone, and she's like, "Ha! I got you." And so she tries to take him down, but then his skin on his arm starts to starts coming off before just falls off completely, and it obviously leaves a threat. So then FF uses her bullet to shoot him in the foot, which stops him a little bit, but he ends up still kind of moving around, still manages to crawl away. Slippery little fucker is what she calls him, and then they finally get there, and when he's cornered by this wall, he's kind of crawling next to this wall with some sunlight, and we start to see his back start to morph. We see these little things coming around where her spine should be, and then eventually Anastasia comments that he started growing taller and taller, and then FF tells him to turn around. He eventually does, and we see a tree trunk growing where his mouth should be. His tongue is kind of still, it's still exposed out. And bro, the voice this guy was giving off during this format was honestly really creepy. I don't know about y'all, but bro, this shit was kind of creepy. Anyway, then he just started. Then before we know it, more of the tree grows forward, more and more before his head just literally just fucking explodes. Jolene starts looking to where the bone is, and that's when she finds out that the rest of the prison guards, the rest of the prisoners that were already there, have also turned into trees. And so that's when the stand user we saw from earlier, the one with like the Mad Max helmet, notices the bone, and he questions whether or not this, and he questions kind of how this is going on, and whether if this is the stand power of the bone, and that's when he realizes he probably shouldn't touch it. We then just start to see the flowers starting to grow on Jolene as she gets closer and closer to the sunlight. Anastasia tells her to turn around and look at him. She doesn't have any she doesn't have any like flowers or anything on her, and so Anastasia starts checking her, looking around her, and it looks like he starts smelling her breath for some reason, which was kind of weird. Anyway, that's when he notices that these are not the work of an enemy stand user, and because if they did, they would have already been attacked. But they obviously know that this is some connected to some stand with the flowers. Jolene notices the bone and starts running towards it, where she, of course, gets where there's more flowers start growing onto her. As Anastasia uses dive or drive on her, which gets rid of most of them, but not all of them. FF starts screaming, "Hey, dude, you're not done yet. You have to yank out the rest of them." It says that's not proper. Just say yank them or get them out, because apparently her body is just transforming into this, and might not be able to help it. So now Anastasia finally gets to have Jolene in his arms, asking her this great face. Did anybody else think like Anastasia is like low-key like a walking like romance novel protagonist, or like the main male love interest in a romance novel? Like I look at this way this man talks, he walks, everything about him. I feel like this dude's just a walking romance love interest, man. I don't know. Romance novel love interest, excuse me. So then after he asks Jolie if there's any pain, she says no. This dude wraps it, then like basically like almost like puts his mouth on one of the flowers on her face. He says, "This is a flower, nothing more." And like he's like super close to her too. I'm like, bro, this is just. Am I watching a romance novel or something? What's going on? Then the sun starts to move and the sunlight moves more towards Jolie, and then more of the flowers start to grow. Anastasia moves her back into the shade, and it calms down the transformation, and it kind of reduces it a lot more. So we know that obviously she needs to stay out of the sunlight in order to avoid fully transforming into a tree. If she stays in the shade, she should be good, at least in theory. Either way, Jolene goes right back into the sunlight looking for the bone, but ends up finding something else entirely. And it's a baby embryo, whatever the fuck you want to call this thing. There is a creature inside of a cocoon that's clear, that has a star tattoo, so good chances probably did absorb the bone, which Jolie mentions that she thinks that this creature absorbed the bone. Given that star tattoo, there's probably a good chance that it probably did, because we know Dio had the star bone because he connected his body with Joseph's body, and all that shit, and started Crusaders. Anyway, so FF told her not to touch this thing because, what the hell could this thing be connected? And that's probably the reason why I turned everyone into a greenhouse. Either way, though, and she finds this tree baby embryo thing. I have no idea how I'm supposed to call this. Jolene just calls it a fruit baby throughout the rest of the episodes, so fuck it, I'll just call it a fruit baby. And yeah, she assumes that this thing is probably the reason why everything's getting turned into a greenhouse, and FF tells her not to touch it, but of course, because Jolene is an absolute giga chat, she grabs it. and she's like, "Wait, your team's with them?" He's like, "No, more like stealing, because I won't let Pale Snake get his grubby little hands on it." And so they run off with the stand, or fruit baby, whatever the fuck you want to call this thing. We don't even know if it is a stand or not, as they decide to get out to finally leave this place. FF comments that the entrance is that the exit's on the west side, which I believe is the side that where the sun is kind of beating towards the most. And obviously, if you put the sun where the sun is beating the most, she'll definitely turn to a tree there. Anyway, they run into another guy named Gushio, which actually, if you were paying attention to his outfit, you would already know that he was a stand user for Survivor, because it's written on the pants of his clothes. You can see like Survivor written all over like his pants. So if you were paying attention, you would already know that this guy was probably the guy that had Survivor, and he was a stand user for it. By the way, he starts begging and like, please take me with you. I don't want to turn into a tree. Blah, 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 blah. He's like crying all over the place. Not Gushio, Anastasia tells him, oh, don't worry, whatever. And he tells him to come here. And then he starts touching his midsection, telling him that there's 20, that every human has 24 ribs. 12 as 12 as like 12 rows of ribs, 24 in total. So, and then he kind of looks at him. They both kind of share a look to each other before he tells him he can go. They leave, and then we see Gushio pass by the guy with the Mad Max helmet, and he's wondering, like, hey, why haven't you turned into a tree at all? And then that's when his ribs protrude out of his back and wrap around and cut into the dude's arm. Obviously, body horror was the theme of this episode. And so his arm is all cut to shit, bleeding all over the place. You can see his bones and shit. He starts crying for his mama, literally. He starts crying. He's like, I gotta go. He literally cries for his mama. Well, Gushio is like, oh, finally, sunlight. And then we find out he was a stand user for Survivor. And he was sent here by Father Pucci. So, but one thing I want to know is, what was the thing about the ribs? Was that all the work of Anastasia? Did he somehow, when he was like touching his rib, mess around with the physiology of his body and cause his ribs to turn out that way? We already know he can like turn legs into springs, so he probably had a hand on the ribs thing. That's probably why he mentioned, hey, humans have 24 ribs in total. That's what I'm assuming anyway. I could be wrong on that. Correct me if I'm wrong on the cons, but that seems like what's going on. They managed to get outside. The flowers started withering away, and Jolene managed to get her jacket back on, which I gotta say, I love Jolene's standard outfit. Looks really good, man. But I think that her Jolene's outfit looks best when she has the prison jacket on. I feel like that just completes the look, man. I don't know about you, but that's just how I feel. I like this. I like her outfit when she has the jacket on. It kind of completes the look. So, as I mentioned, she mentioned that the flowers have withered away, and then she assumes that was only temporary. They still have the fruit bait this way, but then this random stand user, which we never get the name of in the actual episode, but we get the name of this stand user in the actual commercial cards, which is Yaya Ma. I'm very curious to know what the original stand name was for this, what the original name of the stand was before it got localized, because I have no idea what the hell Yaya Ma is going to be. But yeah, whatever the case may be on the dude's name, he starts eating the fruit baby and then actually swallows it. Obviously, Jolene wants it out of him, so she punches him. And then she just starts kicking his ass, literally kicking him in the ass. I don't know why she doesn't just, or maybe she was kicking at his stomach. You couldn't really tell from the angle. But then FF fires her bullets on its head, and then Diver Drive digs into his stomach trying to look for the damn thing. He's like, oh, the stench. So after all that, we find out, or Anastasia finds out, that repulsive odor is actually coming from him. Bro, when I heard that, man, I just started laughing out loud, bro. That got me to laugh out loud. That was the funniest shit ever. But no, but this episode was not done at making me laugh out loud, because then this stand, Yaya Ma, decides to build a tree, or a chair rather, out of tree branches for Jolene, because he notices how dirty her shoes are, and he says like, please, here, miss, hey, take a seat, I'll lick your shoes, please. He literally starts licking her shoes, and Jolene's face, bro, and then while he's licking her shoes, he's like, oh, by the way, would you like to read the manga I swiped from the warden's office? Also, kind of surprised they even had manga in, like, you know, an American prison, but it's a Japanese series, so who the fuck cares? I tried to decipher what series this was based on the cover, and I couldn't tell. I think it might be like an old JoJo volume, but I can't tell. If any of you guys know exactly what manga volume this is that appeared in the episode, please leave it in the comments, bro, because this shit was hilarious, bro. And so then the bee shows up and he eats it, but then this was probably the funniest shit in the entire episode. FF comes out of nowhere and just blows its brains out, bro. Just comes out of nowhere, hits it with the FF bullets from point blank range. And bro, this just killed me, bro. This fucking killed me. This absolutely killed me. I was laughing so fucking hard, bro. So then the stand, Yaya Mom, his mouth starts watering, and he's like, oh, do you want to know the difference between yellow strawberries and red ones? Yellow ones are fake ones, so you can't really eat them. And he's salivating as he's looking at FF. You probably know why in this later on in the episode. So then they tell him. So that's when Seijen does that. We need Yayama to come with them, and she tells FF to go look for the Stand Master and of course blow its brains out. And also like during the strawberry light, she says, "Do you ever shut the fuck up?" Love that, man. Like I said, the F-bombs in JoJo versus are once again jarred, but hey, it's nice to hear it, bro. I am no curious though. If somehow, some way, Netflix finally opened its borders to Toonami to let them air their series, would Toonami have to bleep all the fucks, or would they keep them in there? Because Chucky has a handful of F-bombs in it, and Toonami airs at a far later time slot than when Chucky does. So in theory, they should be good, but we also remember in part 4, they straight up censored cock. Which, to be fair, it worked in the episode. To be fair, made it sound like even dirtier than what Kira actually said. But yeah, very interesting if this ever was able to air on Toonami. Whatever the case may be, they find like one of these like goats things that you see all over the place in Florida, and so he's trying to figure out how it runs, and then Yayama tells him how it operates. Like, first you need to put it in neutral to get the engine ready. Here, let me show you, like so. And eventually he's just the one that ends up piloting it after he gets the anchor rope away. And then we hear narration from FF telling him not to get it out of its sight and that it would be a perfect servant. And then the next thing we see is there's a huge hole where FF's jaw is supposed to be. So it seems like that Yayama ate her jaw sometime off screen before when they got to the boat, it looks like. Or something else happened. And then we end the show up with a shot of Yayama being like, don't let that creature out of your sight. And I gotta say, when they change they invert the colors and everything before, the to be continued air shows up, I gotta say, I like the look of it. It looks really creepy when they invert the colors on them. It looks really nice, man. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the episode ends. Another phenomenal episode, man. Like I said, I was laughing out loud about the last minute or so of the episode with Yayama. And yeah, man, overall, my final verdict for this episode is going to be a 10 out of fucking 10, ladies and gentlemen. So, as always, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe for new. Follow me on my socials if you feel like it. Links down in the description box below. And as always, forevermore, see you guys next time. You